Good Friday morning and a guten Erev Shabbos to all. Hope you are doing well. After Tisha B'Av, leading us to Rosh Hashanah, we read 7 haftorahs, 7 sections from the prophets, where the people of Israel are given comfort, the Shiva de Nechemta, the 7 haftorahs of consolation. This Shabbat is number 3. And we're going to be reading from the words of Yeshayahu. It's a haftarah that starts with the words Aniyah Sa'ara, the poor one, right, the afflicted one. That is Sa'ara, like you are storm tossed. You can imagine a ship in the ocean, and there's a storm, and it's being tossed from side to side. So too the people of Israel will be afflicted, in this storm-tossed situation, and lo nuchama, and not been comforted. But worry not, because eventually we're going to have a foundation of sapphires. These are the words of comfort given to the people of Israel by the vision of Yeshayahu Hanavi. Now, one of the greatest commentators to turn to really appreciate Tanakh is the Malbim, Reb Meir Leibush Weiser. It's an incredible commentator. Although it's more recent, it's modern, he's a 19th century authority. In many ways, it is not possible to truly appreciate Tanakh without turning to the Malbim. Now, the Malbim has a theme, and this theme appears in several places in his analysis of sections of Yeshayahu. It also makes its appearance in the words that he writes on the prophet of Micha. And his theme is that you have to know, yes, the great prophets had a vision of one day the people of Israel leaving the exile and returning into Eretz Israel. But he notes, you have to know that this process is going to take place in stages. Don't view the redemption as something that is going to suddenly occur, and we're going to merit the Bet HaMikdash and the Malchut Bet David. That suddenly we're going to have a temple and the return of the house of David. It's not going to occur that way, he notes, but rather it's going to be in stages. For example, in Micha, in the 4th chapter, he tells us that the people of Israel, and again, these are concepts that he doesn't make up, but rather he understands that this is what the prophets are telling us. And in the book of Micha, he notes that you should know that the process of the redemption is going to be that first we're going to have a memshala rishana. There's going to be some form of government. Eventually it will evolve. Eventually it will be upgraded and turn into Mamlechet Bat Yerushalayim, a mamlacha that indeed will understand what Jerusalem is about. So this understanding of the Malbim makes its appearance here too, in the words we're going to read this Shabbat and the Haftarah, that you should know we're going to be like this afflicted nation in a storm, even when we return to the land of Israel. Meaning, the Jewish people are going to go ahead and be gathered from the 4 corners of planet Earth and make their way to Eretz Israel. And yes, have some form of government, but it's still going to be aniyah. We're still going to be afflicted and be tossed in this storm, thrown up and down by the waves. This is what he tells us. And I think these are important words in this day and age. In the land of Israel, there's some level of instability, right? Many of us were quite agitated that the Jewish state is having such difficulty in forming a government, election after election after election, that when you read the news about the Jewish state, all you read is about fighting. These are things we're not proud of, right? We would far more appreciate a Jewish state where they get along, where they focus on the mission to enhance Eretz Yisrael, to make it even better than what it is, to be sure that people could go to work and appreciate what they have. So these are things that are disturbing, but we have to realize that this is part of the process. And in many ways, when you read the news, right, and you hear about the Netanyahu government or the issues he has with Gantz or with other parties in the coalition, remember, we are still this aniyah, we're still afflicted and sarah, we're still in the storm. It's a storm. And when you're in a storm, sometimes it might be calm for a few minutes, but then there's a big wave that you have to deal with again. And that's the storm we face. And the prophets, right, 2,600 years ago understood that we're going to merit a return. But accept the fact that in the beginning, it's still going to be stormy. Eventually, we're going to upgrade and have the Malchut, the kingdom that we are waiting for and hoping for. So when those things we read about today were predicted many, many centuries ago, it uplifts our spirits because it's an indication that we're in the right direction, that with all the challenges that we face, the direction is good. Better things are waiting for us. These are very uplifting words, and we are in the season, right? We want to be uplifted. These are 7 weeks to uplift our spirits after Tisha B'Av, that as we enter into the high holiday season, into Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, we feel very proud, right? And look forward to a much better future. It should be a wonderful Shabbos to all. Bye-bye.